Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Alyeska Pipeline Service Company, fueling philanthropic programs and dedicated to creating educational and professional opportunities for Alaska Native people.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us here for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. On satellite today, not too bad again out over the Bering Sea with lower clouds, and actually the ice up here to the north, but definitely into the clouds there, St. Lawrence Island, on into the Bering Strait, and a little bit off to the northwest there, but a lot of clear skies here again, south central Alaska, Prince William Sound westward out toward the coastline, as well as more low clouds than what the picture's showing here out over the Bering Sea and around the Pribilost, but there were some clearing areas and it's definitely dry all the way out to the western Aleutians there, but weak front does drag right through this area. Quite weak, could have been a little bit of moisture around Nikolsky today, but that front really washing out. Otherwise, we've got increasing clouds here going on over the Gulf of Alaska, along with some snow showers lifting up toward the North Gulf Coast there and on up over the Wrangell Mountain areas. Some clouds, flurries, mostly toward Northway. Bulk of the moisture over in Canada though, but areas of clouds northward here over the eastern interior. Much drier back to the west, and looks like some areas of the southeast coast today had some sunshine, but there were some scattered showers in and around the area there. And then you can see the next band here swinging northward, coming across the Queen Charlotte's here at about 4 p.m. this afternoon. And Dixon Entrance just starting to pick up some clouds now, but looks pretty good there across all of the Panhandle with relatively light winds. Up on the Arctic coast there, a weak trailing edge of a Arctic front, bringing a little bit of moisture. Really not much weather going on with that at all, just a little bit more in the way of clouds, maybe some flurries and fog, and that trails on back into the northern Chukchi Sea. And rolling that through again, again pretty cold up here over the northwest interior, starting out well below zero. Also over much of interior Alaska as well, but milder up there, or a little more cloudiness is coming on the northwest coast, and then some moisture streaming eastward here out of the Russian Far East in toward, as I mentioned, the Bering Strait area. And on the chart today, front holding together much better back here to the west on the north side of the parent low there at about 975 millibars south of Shimya, but really probably should just broke it up right through here with maybe some areas of scattered light rain here all the way down to the eastern Aleutians, but lifting north of the Adak and Atka area, so light precipitation occurred there, and then clouds over the Pribilost, but pretty nice conditions. We've got VFR along and off the coast again, a fair ways off the coast along the southwest here into the Bering Sea. Great conditions again across interior Alaska northward. Again, scattered snow showers here over the Gulf of Alaska, or the northern Gulf and the North Gulf Coast areas on up into the southeast interior, and isolated rain and snow showers, scattered to isolated here with clearing over the southeast coast, and then that Arctic front up to the north. And for tonight, that slides southward there with a narrow band, or a band of flurries and fog with it. Again, very light precipitation there. Just look for lower flying conditions, maybe some fog as that descends on down, mainly across the western north slope to the Brooks Range. South of the mountains though, good VFR, mostly clear skies. Some of that moisture may slide over the eastern Beaufort Sea coastline there. Not quite reaching Kaktovik, Barter Island and those areas, but just cloudy there, and then variably cloudy here over the eastern interior. So looking at possibility of some snow from Cordova eastward, mostly across the northern southeast coast. Snow shower chances, cloudy skies, Prince William Sound. up into maybe portions of the Copper River Basin, and this easterly turning northeasterly flow across the Gulf of Alaska may pick up enough moisture there to form some snow showers or allow some light snow showers, possibly, just maybe there along the east side of Kodiak Island. That's about all that's going on here in the Gulf, other than some isolated rain and snow showers. Next system, as I mentioned, coming northward here, so later tonight, wind, rain increasing. Queen Charlotte's lifting to the Dixon entrance area and eventually spreading up into the southern panhandle by early tomorrow morning or late tonight, probably by 3 a.m. or after. And then this front keeps a chance of rain in across the eastern Aleutians, and mostly just showery conditions, marginal VFR type showers back to Shimia, with the strongest winds and heaviest precipitation just north of the front there, which you can see is north of the Aleutian chain, but then dragging back down, a little windier there for Unalaska and Dutch Harbor. No change for the Pribilofs, variably cloudy, easterly winds, light winds along the coast with good VFR likely here right up towards St. Lawrence Island. Then you'll get back into the clouds, and this weak front kind of stalled out there, so look for mostly cloudy or definitely cloudy skies for the north slope from Point Hope, Cape Lisburne, northeastward there across Umiat Airfield on out to New Wixit and Dead Horse. And again, amounts very light with that, nothing significant. Otherwise, not much change here, as I mentioned, over the interior. And that's going to hold through tomorrow as well. That front weakens, just scattered areas of light snow there. This looks worse than it probably will be there. Anything that does occur will be pretty light and insignificant. A little bit better back to the west, another trough trying to sneak down to the central coast, probably maybe overnight tomorrow night. Fair here in the interior again. Cold overnight low temperatures tonight. Afternoon sunshine though, warming them quite rapidly during the afternoon hours, but likely seen well below freezing here through most areas. And sunshine right out to the coast and beyond. Bristol Bay, mostly sunny, and variable clouds here. Now moisture tending to increase, so look for a few more clouds from northern Cook Inlet, Manuska Valley, Prince William Sound, mostly cloudy, chance of snow showers. Same forecast in North Gulf Coast, in across the Copper River Basin. And again, whatever occurs will be really on the light side. And the northern panhandle here looking pretty good through tomorrow. That front kind of stopping there or halting, not really making much more progress to the north initially. Another disturbance farther to the southeast there, possibly holding it back a little bit. And then out to the west, we've got this 979 millibar low here is going to kick the winds up over the eastern Aleutians tomorrow, and chance of rain holds there. Dry for the Alaska Peninsula, maybe a little windier there on the western peninsula, say from Port Hayden, Sandpoint on to Falls Pass. Really no change for the Pribilofs as well, and that front lingering here along or just north of the Aleutian chain, so variably cloudy. And again, wind's not all that bad. Then we'll see for Monday. This really doesn't move a lot there, just drops to the southeast enough to dry it out and turn the winds more northeasterly here across, well, from Bristol Bay right on down across Unalaska to Nikolsky. And that front close enough now to bring gales into the forecast on the south side of the Alaska Peninsula, looking for 35-knot winds there by Monday afternoon or by midday Monday, as that front edges northward just enough, but it looks like the precipitation may stay just to the south. So it'll be a dry gale with lighter winds, much lighter, mostly sunny skies on up into Bristol Bay. Really not much change at all over the next couple of days here over the central and western interior out to the Bering Sea. Northeast winds continue on the very light side, St. Lawrence Island, all the way down toward the Pribilofs, maybe becoming a little more northeasterly or east northeasterly. And now we've got low pressure here just south of Resurrection Bay, and it looks like moisture coming in, so a little bit more widespread snowfall possible here for Prince William Sound northward up into areas of the Copper River Basin, and then possibly here on the north side of the Alaska Range, Northway, Toke spreading over to Delta. This area of moisture with this trough actually will be coming westward during the afternoon hours, and it looks like for Monday evening into Tuesday, or for Monday evening, Monday night, we'll be seeing snow spread westward into the eastern interior as this front lifts up across the panhandle. So already on the coast by Monday afternoon. So those winds, just small craft advisories, I think southerlies 25 knots in the forecast there. Also got small crafts here with the front coming inland over the inside waters, rain to the south mixing, and then Doesn't look like snow will be too significant a factor, maybe up toward Haines on to Skagway, where the air stays cold enough, but definitely milder down to the south. So snow levels lifting. Otherwise, the Arctic coast looking pretty good here. Light winds under high pressure. Just about no wind in the forecast up there at all. I think there's 5 knots in the marine areas, 10 on the west side. Light winds continue in the northern Bering Sea, and even the Aleutians don't look like they'll be that windy at all. So no heavy wind or rain or big storms coming in, at least for the next couple of days out to the west. Temperatures for the afternoon at 4 p.m. The Panhandle, upper 30s to lower 40s, about sums it up with 39 there at Ketchikan to 40 degrees at Juneau, 37 at Cordova, 30 degrees at Portage. That same temperature also matched there at Palmer, 27 in Kenai, with 33 down at Homer, 21 Gulkana, and Talkeetna also just edging above freezing this afternoon. But Fairbanks, at least coming above 20 degrees there, into the lower 20s. Same thing for Tanana, Fort Yukon at 18, Bettles up to 20, and then 1 degree above zero for Anaktuvik. And temperatures near are a little above zero, finally, for the entire stretch of the Arctic coast, but the coldest air here over the northwest. Afternoon reads even at 4 p.m., just 3 below. Kotzebue -4 there at, I believe that's Buckland. Selawik 1 above. Otherwise, McGrath 23. Cooling into the upper teens on down the river there at Bethel with 18. 22 at Macoriac and also at Gamble. And for the Pribilofs, lower to mid-30s for the afternoon readings there, with 40s for the Central Aleutians. That got up to 46. Back down to 39 for Shimia and Alaska, 38. And upper 30s here for the Alaska Peninsula, cooling into the mid-20s toward King Salmon, Dillingham, mid-30s there across Kodiak. Lows tonight, upper 20s, Kodiak Island, otherwise 5 degrees for King Salmon, 20s on down the peninsula, above freezing for the central and western Aleutians, and 8 degrees for the St. Lawrence Island area. So temperatures a little above or below zero here for the western, southwest interior, and then 10 to 20 below to maybe 25 below, especially over the north slope tonight with single numbers in teens, south central Alaska, mild 30s there for the Panhandle. And then tomorrow, lower to mid 40s for the southeast coast, and actually could be maybe even as warm up toward 50 for some of the southern coastal areas there, and upper 20s, lower 30s, south central Alaska, and single numbers all the way up to the Brooks Range and the Arctic coast north slope right around zero. For flying weather, maybe some areas of marginal VFR, again that weak front coming down. Don't even have any IFR in the forecast with it, but that'll be marginal stuff spreading eastward, lingering back to the west through the Strait to St. Lawrence Island. And marginal VFR here, Prince William Sound, North Gulf Coast to about Whittier, and then eastward across much of the Panhandle. IFR out here to the west, Nikolsky, on out to Shimio with that stationary front. And then for tomorrow afternoon, not really much change here. It seems to back to the west a little bit there, putting Nikolsky and Unalaska in the marginal stuff, possibly marginal, maybe just VFR for the Pribilofs. No change up here really on the Arctic coast down to St. Lawrence Island. Good VFR through all of the interior down to the Gulf of Alaska. So improving tomorrow afternoon from the moisture that's going to come in this evening and overnight. And it looks like just some IFR maybe reaching the coastline there. Sitka, Mount Edgecombe, those areas, and marginal VFR really not making any more eastward progress than that. So going to the passes, pretty much all VFR for the Brooks Range and Lake Clark, Merrill, and Rainey, all VFR tomorrow. Windy as well, and Isabel and even Mentasta, VFR, good flying conditions there. Tanita open. Portage, though, kind of marginal VFR lingering on the eastern entrance throughout the afternoon. Otherwise, could be VFR on the western approach. And for Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels, again, right at the surface here near Kodiak, up to the North Gulf Coast, on down to the southeast. And then with that front not moving much, we're kind of stuck with the 2,000 to 4,000 foot levels there, right across the Aleutians. And for icing, again, very weak front, just the possibility in the shaded areas, that's what it'll occur if it occurs at all. But pretty insignificant here, above about 3,000 feet, and scattered areas of all the way out to Shimia, maybe the Komodorskis. Icing free over all of the interior, and a little bit better chance of seeing some icing here of the rime or mixed variety over the southern southeast coast, extending northwestward to probably just north of Sitka. And looking at the winds aloft, jet stream, really trough extending from the Arctic all the way down into the northeast Pacific here. So that's keeping the high back over the Bering Sea. Northwest flow continues, staying in the cold air mass tomorrow, maybe into Monday. But during the week next week, should see a pretty good change in the weather pattern here, bringing milder conditions in across much of the state. And for 9,000 feet for tomorrow, southeasterlies here, southern panhandle of this system, 25 to 35 knots, much lighter, just 5 knots southern Alaska. Then a band of 20-knot winds here from the northeast from Tanana Valley all the way out to the southwest coast, maybe 25 knots Togiak Bay, and possibly 25 there for the eastern Arctic coast, otherwise pretty light. And again, the strongest winds, central Bering Sea on west, north of the Aleutians up to 35. Same pattern, 3,000 feet here, maybe 50 knots though, down at this elevation near Falls Pass, back to south of Kodiak Island or southwest. Kodiak light winds, northeast 20, 25 knots, and again, strongest north of the Aleutians. And the Panhandle 35 knotters are coming in off Dixon entrance. So turbulence-wise, of course, that's where it would be some light to isolated moderate chop, below about 4,000 feet here over the southern southeast coast. Otherwise, pretty smooth over all of the interior, right up to the coastline and the Alaska Peninsula. Could be a little bumpier there, but nothing that will nothing really that significant. But if it does occur, it'll be in the shaded areas here. And after the break, I'll be back to look at the marine forecasts.
It's a complicated project, but a simple life. You can study whales all over the world, you can study harbor seals all over the world, but you cannot study them in silence all over the world. So we really need this sort of piece of wilderness, this untrammeled wilderness, as they say, in order to answer some of these questions.
So we've been monitoring underwater sound here in Glacier Bay since May of 2000. And the reason why we're doing that is to understand what the park is like from the perspective of a marine mammal, because marine mammals are very dependent on the natural sound environment.
If you sort of bring it back to humans, humans respond to noise in very stereotypical ways, and other mammals do the same thing. So, you know, if you go to a concert with your buddy and the music's really loud, you're going to talk at a higher pitch. You're going to talk louder, and you might have to repeat yourself. And marine mammals do the same thing if it gets noisy. So we're seeing, you know, just which of those three that they actually do. We're here on Strawberry Island for the entire summer.
We sample 8 to 12 hours a day. There'll be 2 people who are on our beach station doing scans, marking each whale in the area, 2 people who are doing focal follows from our tower, which is a temporary tower that we have set up here on Strawberry Island. And then we have 2 people who are in the kayak who are doing fine scale acoustic sampling for harbor seals. Got a harbor seal at 23 meters.
Got it? What's her bearing?
Bearing is 5822121.
Being able to pair what an animal is saying with where the animal is saying it is an amazing data set. It's a hard data set to get. It takes a lot of work, but it can answer so many questions.
So our cruise ship right here in the background is right on time today. We have a blissful hour and a half before the cruise ship gets here where we can watch our whales in silence. And then our ship comes in, bringing with it the noise that it brings, and we watch our whales while the ship's here to see whether or not their behavior is changing. And then it's going to go up bay and bring passengers to go see the glaciers, and we are going to get that blissful quiet again to see whether or not our whales are going back to that natural behavior.
This is the computer that runs our underwater acoustic monitoring. And there's a 5-mile cable from my office that leads out to a hydrophone that's out recording live sounds in Glacier Bay. And if I turn this up a little bit louder for the moment, that's the sound of a male harbor seal roaring because it's the mating season.
Strawberry Island. Building a good field team and building some good camaraderie is really important. We have sort of these daily routines of things that we do together. So there's a schedule that we check every morning, who's going to cook lunch that day, who's going to cook dinner. And then every day we take a group photo. And then every day we do a daily check-in. We talk about what worked that day, what didn't work that day, and what we learned either from the island or from each other over the course of the day. Surface 900600.
Last night, there were anywhere from 8 to 10 individuals right along the kelp bed off the point. We were trying to figure out exactly what they were doing. So as acousticians, Michelle and I got a hydrophone.
That seemed like the right thing to do.
Put the hydrophone in the water to see what was going on. Well, we dropped the hydrophone and it was so quiet. There was not a single roar.
Nothing. We heard nothing.
It was just so unusual.
One of the things we did observe yesterday was 2 large bull killer whales who had come into the area that we learned today were transient killer whales. They do come into this area to hunt harbor seals. This is a pupping ground. That's what they come in for.
Yep.
We cannot in any way, shape, or form definitively link the presence of mammal-eating killer whales with the silence of harbor seals.
No, but it is quite interesting that they happened at the exact same time. It's always an adventure on Strawberry Island. You never know what the day's gonna bring.
This morning at 5:15 in the morning, the area was just boiling with whales. I had one 15-minute scan this morning where I was literally hopping back and forth on either side of the theodolite, calling out numbers to try and get all the whales as quickly as possible. And then 15 minutes later, we couldn't find them. Aside from getting to be outside all the time, my favorite part of doing my PhD is getting to work with Leanna.
It goes both ways.
It helps when you put 2 minds that think differently onto the same problem.
Global ocean noise is a real problem, and there are areas of the ocean that have underwater sound from vessels so often that you could almost consider it an urban environment. Glacier Bay is a very remote area, and it was set aside as a national park in part to do scientific research. And we're privileged to be able to use it as a natural laboratory where we can better understand the impacts of underwater noise.
There are some places that act like characters in your life, and I think that a lot of Alaskans can resonate with the fact that living here is like having another family member. It's like having somebody really, really important who's sort of nudging you to be a little uncomfortable all the time and to stretch yourself all the time because it's worth it. I've lived here for almost 10 years. I've made Alaska my home, and so I'm an Alaskan by choice.
Welcome back. Looking at light winds here across much of the southeast coast tomorrow. Southwest 10 to 15 to south to southeast 10 to 15 here over the inside waters. Then on Monday, small craft advisories 25 to 30 knots, strongest on the north coast. Seas really building 14 to 16 feet out here for what there will be tomorrow. And then Clarence Strait, small craft advisories southerlies, small craft advisory southeasterlies for Stevens Passage, and southeast 20, Lynn Canal, maybe Glacier Bay. And then for Prince William Sound tomorrow, light north 15 knots, even lighter for northern Cook Inlet, 20 to 25 knotters. Small craft advisories down across Kachemak Bay, Shelikof Strait. The Barren Islands, light off the east side of Kodiak Island, light northeasterlies for the North Gulf Coast. Then those swing around in direction, go southerly there, especially for the eastern Gulf Coast, or south-southeast, up to 20 knots, so not too bad, but small craft advisories with those 8-foot seas. 15 knots, Prince William Sound, north 15, southern Cook Inlet. Northwesterlies only 20 knots now, Kachemak Bay across the Barrens, and northerlies of 15 for Kodiak. Bristol Bay, northeast 20, all the way down to Cape Sarachev. Small craft advisories, Cape Sarachev to Castle Cape out of the east. And then for Monday, those turn into gale force northeasterlies there on the south side of the peninsula. Small craft advisories on the north side, backing off to 20 knots for Bristol Bay. For the Aleutians, eastern areas, 30 to 35 knots here for all of the Fox Islands out of the east-northeast, falling back to small craft advisories for the central Aleutians, and then 25 to maybe 30 knots on out to the west, which on Monday, those turn northeasterly, or no, I guess they stay easterly out here at 25 knots, 20 knots here now, so a little bit lighter for the central Aleutians. And still, gales possible here, especially on the south side of Unalaska Island, 35 knots. Otherwise, looking at pretty much just small craft advisories. Southwest coast, northeast 15 to 20 knots there continues, picking up to 25 for the Pribilof. So small craft advisories there northward to St. Matthew Island, seas 10 feet. And northeast 10 knots, staying pretty light here for St. Lawrence Island, and just 15 north of Nunivak Island, though 20 knots blowing out of Kuskokwim Bay. Small craft advisories again, the Pribilofs on up to St. Matthew Island. And for the eastern Beaufort Sea coastline from the central areas, west 15 knots all the way to Demarcation Point. Northeast 10 here on the west side, really no wind at all, 5 knots there from Wales to Cape Beaufort. And then we'll pick it up to 10 knots north and north-northeast. 15 here on the west side, Cape Beaufort on up, but then central coast just 5 knots, maybe from the east or variable at 5 under high pressure. And for tonight again, fair conditions over much of the interior. A few more clouds here on the east side, and then better chance for some snow showers, light precipitation, Prince William Sound, up along the North Gulf Coast, eastward there, across northern Lynn Canal, a little more scattered showery conditions through this area, but that due to the kind of the calm before the next storm, lifting northward with increasing wind and precipitation moving into those southern areas late tonight. Really no change out here to the west, maybe a little bit more wind there for the Fox Islands. And then for tomorrow, this front, just a weak trailing band of flurries with that down to the north side of the Brooks Range. Fair south, variable clouds, flurries, snow showers scattered around Prince William Sound, maybe into Turnagain Arm. Talkeetna is back to the east, and no change for the Aleutians. And that front having a rough time getting up across Dixon Entrance for tomorrow, but another system rolls in. So that thing actually is this trough here, this moisture spreading westward, coming in late in the afternoon, definitely during the evening hours on.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.